Okay, we're going to do another Bible Shorts, but this one might not be super short. And it's about us being perfect in the Lord, being perfect in what we do, being perfect in our Christianity. And you have a lot of people out there that say, I have my Bible in my hand so I can read from it, that say we need to be perfect. We need to follow the Ten Commandments and be perfect. But they never explain any further on that. They just say you need to follow the Ten Commandments. Okay, explain it to me. Tell me what you mean by follow the Ten Commandments. And they don't do that. And when I've asked them the questions, they couldn't answer them. They said, just follow them. I said, well, Jesus gave a much better description. And it's our responsibility to also give a better description. Now, inherently, following the Ten Commandments, it's impossible. You can't do it. And from the day you were, your first sin as a human being living in this world is lying. Every child lies. The first thing they do is lie. So that's violating the Ten Commandments. Thou shalt not bear false witness. You've already violated the commandments, and if you violate the law on one point, you violated the whole law. You're condemned to death. So taking the sin from Adam out of the picture that we're all automatically born into, the very first act as a child. Now, right away, people will say, well, what about the age of accountability? Okay, if you've already got those things under your belt, and you step into the age of accountability where you realize what right and wrong is, and that what you're doing is wrong, and it becomes premeditated, you can't be perfect. You cannot be perfect. It is impossible to be perfect. And Jesus points this out very clearly. See, whenever you talk about the Ten Commandments, you have to go to Matthew 5, and you have to explain to people in Matthew 5. And Jesus was making a point, because he was showing, you can't do this. Only I can. So how do we achieve perfection? Because he tells us, be perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. Let's look. In Matthew 5, starting in verse 20, it says, for I say to you, and this is Jesus talking, that unless your righteousness exceeds the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, you will by no means enter the kingdom of heaven. So he's saying, you got to be better than them. Now, the scribes and Pharisees were perfect in their eyes in the law. So what is Jesus saying here? What is he trying to get across to them? See, the scribes and Pharisees of the day were the representation of Jesus. Look at how we are. We are holy. Mimic what we do. Jesus was saying, unless you can be like them, unless you can stand in the place where they stand, you're futile. You're doing nothing. But he builds further on this, and he helps explain it even more. You have heard, verse 21, that it was said to those of old, you shall not murder, and whoever murders will be in danger of judgment. Thou shalt not murder. That's one of the commandments. That's what we're supposed to follow. Here's what Jesus says about that. Verse 22, but I say to you that whoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of the judgment. And whoever says to his brother, Raca, shall be in danger of the council. But whoever says, you fool, shall be in danger of hellfire. So not only is it, I shall not go take somebody's life physically. Jesus says, if you hate him spiritually, if you hate him in your head, if you think he's an idiot to the point that you're looking down on him, if you take your brother and you put him in a place beneath you, listen, put him in a place beneath you, you're in danger. It's not just taking a life. It's much, much more expanded than that. Jesus is proving a point. Let's continue. Verse 23, therefore, if you bring your gift to the altar, there remember that your brother has something against you. Leave your gift there before the altar and go your way. First be reconciled. Let's see. Now verse 27. Go down to verse 27 because here he talks about another commandment. He's proving a point. Verse 27, Matthew 5, you have heard it was said to those of old, you shall not commit adultery. Notice he used that term twice, those of old. Thou shalt not commit adultery. He's talking about the old way. There's a new way. You shall not commit adultery. Jesus expands on this in verse 28 and says, but I say to you that whoever looks at a woman or man to lust for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. So, I'll put myself as the example. The last couple of mornings, I have been getting attacked vehemently. And I told you guys before, I came out of a 30-plus year porn addiction. Attacked. As soon as I wake up, my mind is groggy. I'm on all these medications. It's got me messed up. It takes a while to wake up, and immediately, here comes these thoughts. And it's a physical effort sometimes. Not only mental, but I have to physically make a change in my position. Get up, move, get into something else, get into the Word, to fight this temptation off, to fight these spiritual attacks off. Just the fact that I have an image in my head, that's adultery. This is what Jesus says here in Matthew 5:28. You've already done it. If you think about it, you've already done it. So you walk down there and you're at the beach and you're chilling. Ooh, man, she's got that's a nice butt. You just did it. You lusted after her. You just committed adultery. Now, if it's that easy to violate these commandments, how can we be perfect? Jesus goes on in verse 29 and says, if your right eye causes you to sin, pluck it out. Cast it from you. For it is more profitable for you that one of your members perish than for your whole body to get cast into hell. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and cast it from you. For it is more profitable for you that one of your members perish than for your whole body to be cast into hell. Furthermore, it has been said, whoever divorces his wife, let him give her a certificate of divorce. But I say to you that whoever divorces his wife for any reason except sexual immorality causes her to commit adultery, and whoever marries a woman who is divorced commits adultery. If it's that easy for us to violate the Ten Commandments, what hope do we have to fulfill the commandments? Now, the problem is you have a lot of people that aren't reading this. They're not reading this. And they're saying, you follow these 10 laws and you're going to be perfect. No. Jesus said you can't be perfect. He just told us in Matthew 5. Because I know you're doing it physically, but you're thinking about it. That violates it too. Because you did it in here. And we know that salvation is in here. So what hope do we have? How can we be perfect as our Father in heaven is imperfect? We can't. But Jesus did. And the way we get that is through Him. We go to Him. He is the narrow way. He is the gate. No one comes to the Father except through Christ. We get that through Him. Us, in Him, we have that imputed perfection, that imputed righteousness, because we're still in the flesh, and sin was condemned in the flesh, remember? So, Bible short, I'm going to try to keep it under 10 minutes. If somebody tells you you have to follow the 10 Commandments to be perfect, tell them you're wrong. And you're not reading your scriptures properly. And you take them to Matthew 5 and show them where Jesus said, you just think about doing it and you've done it. If I think about stealing, I've stolen. If I think about committing adultery, I've committed it. If I think about hatred, I've murdered. If I think about anything that relates to the 10 Commandments, if I do it in here, I've done it. In God's eyes. So it is impossible to fulfill the 10 Commandments in this form. But in Christ, we have the victory because He did it for us. You cannot earn your salvation. You cannot buy your way into heaven. You cannot impress Him by your good works and what you think you have to do. You impress Him by your faith in Him and believing that He died for you on that cross, that He fulfilled this law for you, that He is perfect and you are perfect through Him. And that's the only way you can enter into heaven. That's the only way you can be righteous. That's the only way you can have what this book says you need is through Jesus Christ. That should change everybody's view on everything. That should cause you to pause and think. And that should show you who the false teachers are and who the real teachers are.